Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dan, and I'm joined by my co host, Rio. We're thrilled to have you all here today for our webinar on effective communication strategies for HIV awareness and prevention.
Thanks, Dan. Today we're here to tackle the important role communication plays in HIV awareness and prevention. HIV is more than just a health issue. It's a topic that calls for greater understanding and less stigma. Through this session, we'll learn how to communicate effectively to foster both awareness and empathy.
Today, we have three exceptional speakers who will be sharing their expertise with us today. First, please welcome Mikai, who will discuss how to navigate stigma and communicate with respect and empathy. Next is Azzy, who will walk us through the best practices for patient provider communication, showing how healthcare professionals can support patients with both compassion and clarity. Finally, we'll hear from Ali on the role of digital communication in reaching wider audiences.
Before we dive into our main discussion today, we want to engage you all in a fun and informative icebreaker that aligns perfectly with our topic of effective communication strategies for HIV awareness and prevention. This activity will help us all reflect on what we know about HIV while getting to know each other a little better.
That's right. We're going to play a game called Two Truths and a Myth, HIV Awareness Edition. Here's how it works. We'll present three statements about HIV, and two of them will be true, and one will be a myth. Your job is to identify which statement is the myth. You can do this by raising your hands when I call your name, and you must tell us your answer. Now let's get started with our first question. Listen carefully. For our first statement, HIV can't be transmitted through sharing food or drinks. For the second one, HIV is transmitted by casual contact like hugging or shaking hands. And for the last statement, HIV can be transmitted through blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and breast milk. Now, which statement do you think is the myth? Raise your hands and let us know.
Before you answer, please open your cams so that we can see all the participants today.
Okay, now, three, two, one.
Raise your hands. There, Miss Punzalan. What's your answer?
For me, it is statement number two, since as we all know that HIV is not transmitted by casual contact like hugging or shaking hands, but rather it is transmitted by sexually contact since it is sexually transmitted disease. That's all po.
You're right. The myth here is statement 2. HIV is not transmitted by casual contact like hugging or shaking hands. This is an important misconception that we need to clear up, as clear communication about transmission modes is crucial for reducing stigma.
Okay, let's now move on to question two. For the first statement, HIV treatment can reduce the viral load to undetectable levels. For the second one, undetectable viral load means HIV cannot be transmitted sexually. And for the last statement, HIV treatment cures HIV completely. Now, which statement is the myth? Okay, three, two, one. Raise your hands.
Okay, Miss Lang, what's your answer?
I believe statement 3 is the myth because HIV is not curable.
You got it right. The myth is statement 3. HIV treatment does not cure HIV. It manages it by reducing the viral load. This emphasizes the importance of understanding treatment as part of ongoing health management rather than a complete cure.
Okay, now let's move on to question three. For the first statement, a person can have HIV and not show symptoms for years. The next one is HIV testing is part of every standard blood test. And lastly, regular testing is essential because early HIV detection improves health outcomes. Now, what's your guess for the myth? Three, two, one, raise your hands.
Miss Pobre, what's your answer?
I think statement 2 is the myth.
Excellent. The myth is statement 2. HIV testing is not automatically included in every standard blood test. Specific HIV testing is required. This highlights why it's vital to communicate the need for targeted testing.
Okay, moving on to question four. HIV primarily affects people from certain races or backgrounds. The next one is HIV can affect anyone, regardless of race, age, or background. For the last statement, certain behaviors increase the risk of HIV exposure, not race or ethnicity. Which do you think is the myth? Okay, now you can raise your hands.
Mr. Parafina, what's your
Uh,
answer?
I'm guessing the right answer is statement number three.
That's correct. The myth here is statement 3. HIV does not primarily affect people of certain races or backgrounds. It can affect anyone. This reinforces the need for inclusive communication strategies that reach all demographics.
Okay, now finally moving for our last question. Okay, for the first statement, pregnant women with HIV can lower the risk of passing it to their baby with proper treatment. HIV can be managed to the point that someone with HIV has a similar life expectancy to someone without it. And for the last statement, HIV medications are only for people who have progressed to AIDS. Now, what's your guess? Three, two, one, raise your hand.
Miss Kono, what's your answer?
I think statement 3 is a myth.
That's correct. The myth is statement 3. HIV medications are not just for people with AIDS. Early treatment is beneficial for all individuals with HIV. This underlines the importance of proactive health measures and open discussions with healthcare providers.
All right, now we're done with our icebreaker. Thanks for participating in the game, everyone. We hope that there was a fun part and help you feel a bit more connected to the group. Now, we're warmed up and let's move on into our main content for today. We're going to set the context by learning more about HIV itself and why effective communication is essential for awareness and prevention. Okay. To lay the foundation for today's discussion, let's start with a brief overview of HIV. HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus, is a virus that attacks the body's immune system, weakening its defenses against infections and diseases. Without proper treatment, HIV can lead to AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. However, HIV is not a death sentence. With effective treatment, many people with HIV live long and healthy lives.
HIV spreads mainly through certain body fluids, such as blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and breast milk. Common transmission methods include unprotected sexual contact, sharing needles, or less commonly, from mother to child during childbirth or breastfeeding. It's also essential to clear up some misconceptions. HIV cannot be transmitted through casual contact, like shaking hands, sharing food, or hugging.
Okay, according to WHO, over 39.9 million people worldwide are living with HIV. And while new infections have decreased over the years, millions of people are still diagnosed each year. Despite medical advances, HIV remains heavily stigmatized, which can prevent people from seeking treatment or even testing.
That's where effective communication comes in. Addressing the stigma and promoting awareness is vital to encourage testing, support, and open dialogue. Communication that educates, respects, and reassures can make a big difference in how people perceive HIV and how comfortable they feel seeking information or support.
Okay, now with that understanding in place, let's explore some key communication strategies that can help us talk about HIV in a way that's respectful, informative, and stigma free.
With all of that in mind today, we are joined by three extraordinary speakers whose expertise, passion, and charisma are bound to make this session both enlightening and inspiring. Without further ado, let's introduce these trailblazers in the field.
Okay, first, please welcome Mikai. Mikai is not your average health communicator. She's a medical visionary who has redefined how we connect with communities about HIV awareness. With a background steeped in public health and a heart dedicated to advocacy, Mikai has transformed conventional communication strategies with unique approaches that are both scientifically sound and culturally sensitive. She has a unique ability to connect with audiences with empathy and insight. Today, Mikhail will unravel the secrets behind her innovative strategies, leaving us all equipped to spread awareness with precision and impact. Now, let's give the floor to Mikhail.
Hi everyone, I am excited to be here with you today to discuss our first topic, navigating stigma. As we know, stigma surrounding HIV can be a major barrier that discourages people from seeking testing, treatment, or even talking about their status openly. So, how can we address this? First, let's talk on education. One of the biggest contributors to stigma is misinformation. Many people still believe myths like HIV being transmitted through casual contact, and these misunderstandings can lead to fear and exclusion. By sharing accurate information about how HIV is and isn't transmitted, we can help break down some of these fears. But education alone isn't enough. Empathy is just as important when we engage with people affected by HIV. It is essential it is essential to listen without any judgment. Empathy builds trust and helps create a safe place for individuals to open up. A simple approach like saying, I am here to listen or how are you feeling about this can go a long way. Another effective approach is using person first language. Instead of saying HIV patients, we can say people living with HIV. It is a small change, but it helps shift the focus to person rather than their condition, which can significantly reduce stigma. And finally, we need to share positive stories. When people hear about others who are thriving and living fulfilling lives with HIV, it helps challenge the perception of HIV as a life sentence. It shows that with the right support and treatment, people can lead healthy, normal lives. So, thank you for listening, and I encourage you all to think about how we can bring empathy and respect into our everyday conversations about HIV. Now, I'll pass it over to our next speaker to discuss patient provider communication.
Thank you, Miss Mary. Now let's move into our next topic, the patient-provider communication. Effective communication between healthcare providers and patients is crucial for HIV care. When providers communicate clearly and empathetically, patients are more likely to trust them and adhere to treatment. One key to building this trust is showing respect and understanding. Patients need to feel that they are seen as people first, not just as diagnosis. Providers can establish this connection by asking open ended questions like, how has your experience been, or what concerns do you have? This approach makes patients feel valued and heard. Another important aspect is simplifying language. Medical jargon can be overwhelming, especially for someone newly diagnosed. By explaining complex terms in simple, accessible language, providers can make sure patients fully understand their treatment options, which boosts their confidence and involvement in the process. Privacy is also a major concern. Many people fear that their diagnosis will be disclosed without their consent, which can lead to anxiety and mistrust. By reassuring patients about confidentiality, providers can create a more open and supportive environment. And finally, follow up communication is essential. A quick message or call after a visit shows patients that their healthcare team is genuinely invested in their well being. It's a small gestures that can make a huge difference in helping patients feel supported. Thanks for your attention on this important topic. Now, let's hand it over to our final speaker who will cover digital communication strategies.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Miss Azzy. If there were an award for blending compassion with medical knowledge, Azzy would be a multiple time winner. Azzy's background in epidemiology and patient outreach makes her an unstoppable force in HIV prevention. Known for turning statistics into impactful stories, she empowers others with her unique communication skills. Today, she'll guide us through the numbers and narratives that drive change, showing us how to amplify our voices for HIV prevention.
And now that Azzy is done with her talk, let's move on to Ali. Ali is a standout in health education, known for making complex medical topics clear and engaging. With her background as a clinical educator, she transforms technical insights into practical, inspiring messages, whether it's through workshops, media, or hands on training. Ali has a gift for empowering her listeners to take meaningful action. Today, she's here to unveil her signature methods for effective communication, and you won't want to miss a word. Now, let's give the floor to Ali.
Thank you. I am excited to discuss our last topic, which is the digital communication. In today's world, digital platforms are powerful tools for spreading HIV awareness and providing accurate information to a wide audience. The first step in using digital communication effectively is choosing the right platform. Different groups prefer different spaces. Some audiences are more active on Instagram or Facebook, while others might be on TikTok or Twitter. By knowing where our audience is, we can make sure we're reaching them where they are most engaged. Now, let's talk about content. Visual content like infographics, short videos, and personal stories. It tends to perform very well in social media because audiences want to see real examples of communication. This allows individuals to share information within their own networks. Digital platforms also give us the chance to engage with people in real time. Hosting live Q&A sessions or webinars like this one allows us to address questions directly and build a sense of community. Online support groups, for example, offer a safe space for people affected by HIV to connect and share experiences, which can be incredibly empowering. Finally, we can't ignore the issue of misinformation. We've all seen how quickly myths can spread online. By monitoring platforms and addressing common misconceptions with facts, we can make sure that accurate information reaches the people who need it most. Thank you for your time, and I hope this has provided some practical ideas for influencing digital tools in HIV awareness. Now I'll turn it back over to our host to wrap things up.
Okay, thank you, Ali. As we wrap up our webinar, let's take a moment to recap the key takeaways from our discussion today. We explored effective communication strategies for HIV awareness, including navigating stigma enhancing patient provider communication, and leveraging digital platforms. Each of these strategies plays a vital role in fostering understanding and reducing fear surrounding HIV.
Absolutely. And now we encourage each of you to apply these strategies in your communities and social circles. By sharing accurate information and fostering open dialogues, we can contribute to breaking down the stigma associated with HIV. Remember, every conversation can make a difference.
We'd also like to take this time to recognize and appreciate a few outstanding participants for their engagement and dedication to this cause. Certificates of appreciation will be presented to Alexis Punzalan, Christine Joy Cono, Samantha Mislang, Zarina Pobre, Hamir Justin Calparafina. Your certificates will be sent to your university email accounts. Thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you for being here and for your commitment to spreading awareness. If you have any further questions or need additional resources, please don't hesitate to reach out. Your involvement is essential in promoting awareness and education. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.